I mean, if Bitcoin were to drop back to say like 40K, I think the altcoin market would get hit a lot harder. So that's why I think, taking those profits back to Bitcoin occasionally, or even USD is not a bad way to go. I think the hard part is that when you're in parabolic rallies like this one, anyone who sells anything is then mocked forever, or at least for the next few months as Bitcoin continues to rally, right? So like, if someone sold all their Bitcoin at 30K or 40K or 50K or 60K, they just get dunked on. And reality is according to the risk metric that I follow, it called for basically taking 1/10 of the Bitcoin stack off the table around the spot ETF. And the reason I say only 1/10, a lot of people are saying, well, why not take more, right? I mean, a lot of these institutional products have marked tops for Bitcoin. The reason was because the risk, right? The risk on Bitcoin at the time was only, in the 0.6 to 0.7 risk band, right? So in the way that I do it is it's 1/10 between 0.6 to 0.7, 2/10 somewhere between 0.7 to 0.8, 3/10 between 0.8 to 0.9, and then the rest of it between 0.9 to 1. That doesn't mean that you can't have a HODL stack that you treat differently. And in fact, that's probably a pretty good idea in case all the models break, right? All models are wrong, some are useful. But that's the idea, right? 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. That way, you're fine if the market corrects after you sell, but you also have, some incentive for it to keep going up. And by the way, when that did happen, the selling sort of into the spot ETF, according to the risk model, when we actually came back to 39K, I said on ITC Premium back then that, if you did sell into that higher risk level, this could be a good point to actually buy back in case we do get that rally into the halving and in case that USDT dominance falls back to 4%. So all of that has worked out in the short term. But I've made plenty of mistakes along the way, right? I mean, like I make tons of mistakes. I'm trying to learn from them. Some of the mistakes that I've made were, back over here, I thought that in September, I said, I think that Bitcoin's going to drop below its 20-week SMA in Q3 of the pre-halving year, like it always does, right? Like it always does. Q3 of the pre-halving year, it tends to always drop below its 20-week moving average. That's happened legitimately every single time. And so I said that, and I was right about it. And I felt pretty good about it. But then I said, I think it's going to go out. I think it'll go to 23K before, getting a bounce, right? And what's fascinating is it went down to 24. I mean, I think I remember a low there. Yeah, 24.9, right? So it didn't go to 23K. It went to 24.9K. And now it all kind of seems silly, right? Like it kind of seems silly. But again, like I as I said back then, right, I don't base it on these price predictions. I base what I do based on the risk levels, which have nothing to do with what I think is going to happen. Because if anything, I think we all learn at some point in our investing journey is that you cannot possibly predict where the markets will top out or bottom out. And so, yeah, like that was a mistake. Like I thought we would go to 23K and we didn't. And then we went up. I also thought we would have a few more red months in 2023. So again, another mistake, right? I'm not going to hide behind him.